Hi everyone, welcome back to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 345 and it's time for us to talk about gender-based jobs. It's part 2. We had Kelly and Gareth previously talk about this topic. Today, we're going to have Martin and Mary share their ideas on gender-based jobs. So, if you have not tuned into part 1 of this topic, to give you, I guess, a brief intro of the topic, gender-based jobs. We're talking about jobs in which men are better at and certain jobs that women are better at. I guess there are a few jobs that men tend to be better at, especially jobs that require a lot of strength, especially because it's true, men tend to be a lot stronger than women. And in some cases, women tend to be better with their hands in making something, although many guys are really good at making things with their hands as well. Anyhow, we'll talk about that today. Okay, if you're ready, let's begin with Actual Talk.
You told me that your mom's a police officer, is that correct?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's been in the police force for about 15 years now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, spread over 2 countries. She lives in Australia now, and she started in England. And it's a big difference in terms of the police force was always kind of seen as a male sector. And she's kind of integrated herself into that now.
How has it changed from when she started 15 years ago till now?
Massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she started and she first went into training, there was like 1 or 2 other women in the training regime. And now there's so many more women involved. I think it's a really important step because I don't think anything should be a male or female dominated area of expertise. And I think that comes across even like things like parenting.
Right.
It always used to be seen as, well, that's a woman's job.
Or a woman's better at it than a man. And I don't think that's necessarily the case.
No.
My dad was incredibly hands-on, and he was the one who was home from work at 5 o'clock every night and taking me to soccer practice and teaching us how to sail and do these things. And my mom was at work until 7, and I feel like I had a really good childhood.
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Right, and I love how in Scandinavian countries, I know Sweden for sure, I'm not sure about all the laws in the different countries, but there's 2 years of maternity leave offered to a couple when a baby's born, and you can separate it however you want. So, yeah, isn't that nice?
That's amazing. That's really, really cool.
So you could do 1 year as the mom at home and then 1 year as the dad at home, or you could do, if the mother really likes her career, then the father could do the full 2 years maternity leave or vice versa. Figure out what's right for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think career's been great to me, but I'm off to Scandinavia.
Next stop.
Yeah, next stop.
Here we are, ready to begin with Actual Talk. Now, you had a moment to listen to the conversation between Mary and Martin. And of course, they were talking about today's topic, gender-based jobs. So, in the beginning, Mary mentioned that Martin's mother used to be a police officer. Wow, right? So if you have been tuning into Actual English for a very long time, you might have already known that. But yes, he did mention that long ago his mother used to be a police officer. So let's check out their conversation together. Here we go. Mary says, "You told me that your mom's a police officer. Is that correct?" So mom is a police officer. We no longer say policeman, policewoman, okay? As we no longer say steward, stewardess. It's become just one word. A steward or stewardess no longer exists. People try not to use those words. Instead, we use the word flight attendant, okay, for both men and women. Also, policeman. M-A-N refers to a male police officer. So we no longer say policeman or policewoman, okay? We would say police officer for both men and women, okay? So he says, yeah, she is. She's been in the police force for about 15 years now, I think. So she has been in the police force for about 15 years now. Now, force is what? We're not talking about putting extra, I guess, pressure on something, not pushing something, but force. You would normally hear force in, let's say, military, right? Navy, army, things like that. Usually even police force is just a group, okay, that work together for the same purpose. So we would call them the police force. To work in the police force or to be in the police force. It was spread over 2 countries. It was spread over 2 countries, meaning that she served as a police officer in not just 1 country, but 2 countries, 2 different places. She lives in Australia now, and she started in England. Here we go. So 2 countries he mentioned. So first of all, she started in Australia, and she's now in Australia, but she started in England. The police force was always kind of seen as a male sector, okay? An area for men, and she's kind of integrated herself into that now, okay? Integrate into something. That's our pattern for today, our very first one. You could integrate yourself into something. Let's say, for example, a social group. Okay, so if you were to say that a person integrates himself or herself into a certain group, such as a social group, you're saying that he or she tries to become a part of that group, tries to be accepted into that group, tries to combine himself or herself into that group. Okay, so simply put, it means to try to become a part of something. So she has kind of integrated herself into that now. So she's become a part of the police force. Integrate into. Now, Mary says, how has it changed from when she started 15 years ago and now? So 15 years ago to now. How is it different, she asks. Massively. Here we go. Do you remember this word? I think it was several lessons ago. Yes, previously we did take a look at the word massively. Massively means what? Hugely, greatly. Another synonym was, I believe, heavily. Okay, greatly. Okay, as an extent, degree, or even amount. Massively, just a way of stressing, wow, greatly, a lot. When she started, there were 1 or 2 other women in the training regime, okay? There were 1 or even 2 other women in the training regime, okay? Regime, we're talking about what? It's like, I guess, there are regimes in the government, for example, but even in organizations or small groups. They're basically a set of rules that are intended to be followed. A set of rules that people follow, okay? So in the training regime, it's like a rules, okay, set of rules. And now there are so many more women involved. So training sessions or whatever it is, training, there were only 1 or 2 women long ago, 15 years ago, but now there are so many more women. Okay, many more women these days. I don't think anything should be a male or female dominated area of expertise. Okay, expertise is what? It's just basically, an area in which you are skilled or knowledgeable. If you know a lot about something, that could be your field of expertise. If you're skilled in a certain field, that could be your field of expertise as well. If you're really good at something, that would be your field of expertise. So he says, and I think that comes across even in things like parenting, okay? It always used to be seen as, well, that's a woman's job. And he continues talking about parenting. But here we're talking about something coming across. If something comes across as something, it means that it is expressed as something, okay? It is understood as something. So I think that comes across even in things like parenting. So he is giving an example, okay? What's parenting all about, okay? It gives an impression that that's a woman's job, okay? So it comes across. It gives an impression that parenting is a woman's job. Not a man's job, but a woman's job. And it continues. Or a woman is better at it than a man, okay? A woman is better at it than a man. This is what people usually think when it comes to parenting. It should be the mom, the mother taking care of the baby, not the dad. People usually think the dad should be out working to bring the money home to support his family. The mom should be home to take care of the baby or the children, okay? That's what he is saying. He's saying people normally or naturally think that. But, he says, my dad was incredibly hands-on, okay? Hands-on. This means what? Very involved, okay? This means that you are actively participating in something. You're doing something physically, yourself. You're not watching something, reading something, okay? But you're actually doing something. You're actively taking part in something, which means that you're doing something hands-on. You can get hands-on experience by doing something yourself, okay? So his father was incredibly hands-on. He did everything himself. And he was the one who was home from work at 5 o'clock every night and taking me to soccer practice and teaching us how to sail and do these things. So all these things, he was home, 5 o'clock, boom. He took, Martin to soccer practice. He taught him how to sail and many more things. So this was his dad's job. His dad, yes, was incredibly hands-on. He did a lot of things himself. Now, Mary says, my mom was at work. She was working. She was at work until 7. And I feel like I had a really good childhood. Okay. She's just told us a little bit about her mom so far. She's telling us that her mother used to work and she would often come home past 7 because she was at work until 7. But she's talking about her childhood, how good it was. Okay. Now Martin says, yeah, I think it's really important, meaning childhood is very important. And I love how in Scandinavian countries, I know Sweden for sure, she's giving an example. In Sweden, what's it like? There are 2 years of maternity leave offered to a couple when a baby is born. And you can separate it however you want. Now this is one long sentence, but let's take a look at it together, okay? Slowly. Don't pressure yourself. Don't stress out. She's giving an example. She says, I like the way it is in Scandinavian countries, okay? I love how in Scandinavian countries, for example, in Sweden for sure, there are 2 years of maternity leave offered to a couple. Let's break it down. Maternity leave is what? Maternity leave is usually given to the mother, okay? Say, for example, if a female works and she has a baby, she can take maternity leave, okay? Often you can call up a company and ask for somebody, and they may say, oh, so-and-so is on maternity leave. Oh, she's on maternity leave, which means that she is taking a break from work because she's had a baby perhaps, okay? Since she needs to look after her baby, she would take some time off work, which means to take maternity leave. So 2 years are given. People can take a 2-year break, not just to the mother, but the couple, the mom and the dad get to take 2 years off, okay, when a baby is born, and you can separate it however you want. It meaning maternity leave. Now, Martin says that's amazing. That's really, really cool. That's great. So you can do 1 year as the mom at home and 1 year as the dad at home. Or if the mother really likes her career, then the father can do the full 2 years. Okay, so we've got the mother and the father. Remember, maternity leave can be shared or separated. So she's saying, okay, the mom can stay home, take care of the baby for the 2 full years, or the mom and dad could take turns. They could do 1 year each. Okay, she's giving examples of what they could do. And they say full 2 years maternity leave or vice versa. Vice versa is pronounced 2 ways. Vice versa or vice versa. Both possible. Anyhow, maternity once again, this word. This word just by itself means that it's related to or it's used to describe things that are related to the mother, okay? Especially when it comes to the help and medical care that the mother receives when she is pregnant or when she has a baby. That's maternity, okay? So, anyhow, it's nice. Vice versa meaning it can be this way or the other way. Anyhow, figure out what's right for you. You can choose what works for you. You can choose what is right for you, okay? Or what is best for you. Yeah, definitely. I think Korea has been great to me, but I'm off to Scandinavia. What does he mean by this? Okay, he's saying, you know, it's great. I love that system. I think Korea has been great to me, meaning it's been a pleasant stay in Korea. I love my stay in Korea. It's been wonderful, but I'm off to Scandinavia. I'm off to somewhere means I'm going to. I'm taking away, okay? I'm going to go to, I'm departing to. So he says, I'm going to go to Scandinavia. I'm off to Scandinavia. And of course, they both say, yes, next stop. Of course, he's joking, but he's saying this because he really, really likes the system. And I guess he thinks it's a wonderful system and wonderful to live in Scandinavia, where you get to take 2 years off for maternity leave. Anyhow, that's cool. Okay, let's take a listen to the conversation one more time.
You told me that your mom's a police officer, is that correct?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's been in the police force for about 15 years now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, spread over 2 countries. She lives in Australia now, and she started in England. And it's a big difference in terms of the police force was always kind of seen as a male sector. And she's kind of integrated herself into that now.
How has it changed from when she started 15 years ago till now?
Massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she started and she first went into training, there was like 1 or 2 other women in the training regime. And now there's so many more women involved. I think it's a really important step because I don't think anything should be a male or female dominated area of expertise. And I think that comes across even like things like parenting.
Right.
It always used to be seen as, well, that's a woman's job.
Or a woman's better at it than a man. And I don't think that's necessarily the case.
No.
My dad was incredibly hands-on, and he was the one who was home from work at 5 o'clock every night and taking me to soccer practice and teaching us how to sail and do these things. And my mom was at work until 7, and I feel like I had a really good childhood.
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Right, and I love how in Scandinavian countries, I know Sweden for sure, I'm not sure about all the laws in the different countries, but there's 2 years of maternity leave offered to a couple when a baby's born, and you can separate it however you want. So, yeah, isn't that nice?
That's amazing. That's really, really cool.
So you could do 1 year as the mom at home and then 1 year as the dad at home, or you could do, if the mother really likes her career, then the father could do the full 2 years maternity leave or vice versa. Figure out what's right for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think Korea's been great to me, but I'm off to Scandinavia.
Next stop.
Yeah, next stop.
It's now time for actual expressions. Are you ready? Okay, then let's begin. We've got massively. Think of it as a review. Massively means hugely, greatly, heavily, densely, profoundly, duly. These are all synonyms. Add these synonyms to your head. Okay, remember them. Regime. Let's take a look at the pronunciation here. Okay, we have a G here. regime. Regime. Actually, it's zh sound as you see. So it sounds more like regime. Okay, 2 more times. Regime. It's like a ruling system, okay? A set of rules that are to be followed. So administration, reign, or even establishment, these are all synonyms for regime. Moving on to expertise. Expertise. What is your area of expertise? What are you skilled at? What do you know a lot about? Okay, some synonyms may be competence, proficiency, judgment, but I would even say know-how is a pretty good synonym for expertise as well, okay? And maternity, this is tricky to pronounce. Maternity. This is parenthood, maternology. Motherhood is another synonym. So I told you, maternity is related to the mother. Paternity relates to the father, okay? Paternity, maternity, okay? They're used differently. Maternity for women and paternity usually for men. Okay, let's move on and take a look at our first pattern for today. Integrate oneself into something. Integrate into something means to become a part of something. Integrate itself means to kind of combine, to become one, to unite, combine. So if you integrate yourself into something, you are working hard to be accepted as a part of a group. Okay? You're trying to become a part of a certain group or something. So here's a sample sentence. Emily always knew how to integrate herself into a new group without any difficulty. So she had a pretty good time, not too much difficulty becoming a part of a new group. Maybe she was a people person, okay? Let's try it one more time. Emily always knew how to integrate herself into a new group without any difficulty. Okay, moving on. Come across as something, okay? To give an impression, to give an impression of something. Here we go. Tony's friend comes across as very unfriendly. Okay, so he gives an impression as a very unfriendly person. Come across as something, okay? And moving on to our final one. Here we go. Hands-on. This is involving active participation. You're doing something yourself, okay? Here is a sample sentence. You need hands-on practice to gain experience in driving, which means you need to drive yourself. You need to practice driving yourself. Not watch, not read about it, but actually drive to gain experience in driving. Okay, that is a wrap for today's actual expressions. Job well done.